Timothy, you can take us on. Yes, we are soon to pick Timothy Nyangweso, and we shall remain.
Very interesting end of the non-aligned movement, especially looking at the comments both from the UN Secretary General, but the President of the UN also had comments on a press conference earlier on, but comments also made by our very own President, even as he concludes, and videos were on the screen for us to be able to see exactly some of the things that he has achieved or that he speaks of achieving as a government. He goes on to say a few things, and I'll start with the President of the United Nations, that earlier on had an address where he spoke to us. And he went on to speak about quite a number of things. He spoke about the war between Palestine and Israel there. He also spoke about what's happening in the country, what the position of the UN is, and he says it takes two to tango there, and the two-nation peace address needs to be given an opportunity to be addressing some of the issues there. He also says that it needs to be looked at from a humanitarian angle, because when you decide to have war, you have decided against humanity. He also goes on to talk about that war. He talks about the coups in Africa and says these need to be addressed. He thought it was in the past, but it has come back, and he says it needs to be addressed. He talks about the coups in the different countries, especially in West Africa, and addresses some of those things and says the UN will be addressing some of those things even as we go on. That was His Excellency Francis Dennis, who gave us an address earlier on at about 5 in the evening there. We came back into plenary here where the closing session began to happen. The Secretary General of the UN, His Excellency Antonio Gutierrez, showed up here to be able to give his address there. We had one address, then we had the UN Secretary General, and he had a few pointers that he made out there. Something about climate change, and he said the loss and damage fund that is supposed to be helping continents like Africa that only emit 2% of the global carbon there, and he says it is slow, especially with the countries that are supposed to be remitting to this, and he says it's something that they want to be able to address. He also goes on to talk about global financing and how it needs to change. He talks about the history of the UN, which came about 75 years ago, and he says there's a need for a shift, especially a reformist shift, to ensure that things are addressed that are current global predicaments there, and he says they need to be addressed right now, and he looks at that as some of the issues that the UN needs to be addressed. He also thumped chest and says come the September 2024, the summit of the future that is at the UN General Assembly should address some of the challenges that have been put forward by the non-aligned movement here. The two documents from the political committee and the economy and social committees have been adopted, and those are called the two outcome documents that have been adopted there. The Kampala Declaration was also adopted there. The President went on to show different achievements, especially in the buses and in the mechanization, and he says these are made here. And anyone who is willing within the non-aligned members to come and do manufacturing or assembling in Uganda, he told them bye-bye, don't be able to come here. That is done and dusted, and he needs to be able to see. But he also cautions them and says, if you come here and you're not buying from us, there's a problem. If we're buying from you and you're not buying from us, we need to be able to get value from each other. And that's one of the economic drums that he put out there and said, you know what, we need to exchange value as countries so that economically we become empowered. He also went on to, address a few other issues that are aligned to a few people who have their own interests. And he said, the interests are mine. I'm not for pro this or pro the other, I'm pro myself. And he addressed that numerous times, and there was a thunderous hand clap that came from the members of the non-aligned movement. But as you have seen, one of the summits is done. We have one left there, and one that has addressed all the 10 principles there. The documents have been addressed there. We want to be able to see how they are implemented, especially the countries that are members here, to go on to implement these or domesticate them into their countries here. There is a desk that will be created here in Kampala to be able to handle such things, to ensure that it's domesticated in our country, but also to monitor the progress for the next 3 years. There was also the non-aligned movement youth, representatives that spoke and addressed how inclusivity of young people needs to be envisioned, especially being that there's a big growth there. The president also addressed the population in Africa and said we are 1.5 billion. We are ahead of India and China, not combined but respectively. And he also says that in 30 years we will be 2.5 billion as a population. He shows what kind of market Africa has and what it needs to be able to do that. Also, the UN Secretary General addressed the issue where Africa is requesting to have more seats on the UN Security Council, and it's something that he says traction has been benefited, especially that Africa has made its case on how it needs to have those seats on the UN Security Council. So that's a brief of what has happened today, even as we close the non-aligned movement. This now gets us into digging our heels in to ensure that the work is done, the discussions are done, the agenda is done, the documents are declared. Now, can we get our sleeves folded and get her working? That's where we leave the president, who is now the chairman, and also the team that will be administering these documents to ensure that they're happening. Some concerns that came in from Mali that need to be addressed, and the team in New York will have to address that. They have a few concerns, especially with the conflict within their own country, and they're wondering how this is going to be affected. There's also things that are technical, especially in wording there. The Israel-Gaza war has been at the lips of everyone here, especially the humanitarian cost that is there. But from us here at the Rwenzori Convention Center, everything is done. Tomorrow we'll be picking it up at the G77, or what we call the South-South Summit, the third of its kind here in Uganda. It will be an economic bloc that also has the UN here, because this is very vital for country to have their sovereignty, but most importantly, to have the economic independence that they desire to ensure that all these things happen. From us here at the team that has ensured that we give you step-by-step briefs of what's happening, God bless you, and I hand you back to Broadcasting House down on Nile Avenue.
Indeed, Timothy Nyangweso, thank you so much for that closing remarks. And of course, you have been following very well the events that are happening. One quote, though, that I picked very interesting was the Mahatma Gandhi's quote that says, "There is no way to peace, but peace is the way." Quite interesting there. And the fact that in the 120 states, Africa, the African continent, takes 52 countries that are part of the NAM summit. We are blessed to be part of this union, to be part of this movement where we will all have a shared global affluence, as the theme emphasized, deepening cooperation for shared global affluence. We are blessed to be part of this. And of course, we appreciate the whole team that has been working since 15th, that was on Monday, the whole media team at Speak Resort Munyonyo, at the airport, and then also in studios. And as I sign out, I am blessed. It's my pleasure to be your presenter. My name is Patricia Lokoma Mpango, but we will take on the bulletin with Sharon Chomgisha. She's joining me here on set, and she's so ready and beautiful to give us what's making headlines in our news.
Thank you so much, Patricia Lukoma, for the presentation. Well, today marks the end of the 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit that started on Monday this week, the past week, and now has come to an end today. And yet, we're still gearing in for the G77 plus China summits. Welcome to UBC News Tonight. My name is Sharon Chomdisha with Mugalu Muhammad on Sign Language. And we start off with President Yoweri Museveni, who has commended and who has been commended for his extraordinary leadership in Africa. The remarks were made by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadine, Ralph Gonzalez, while speaking at the closing of the 19th NAM Summit at Speak Resort Munyonyo. Ralph called upon all world leaders to demand an end to the bombings against the innocent Palestinian lives by the people of Israel.
I thank His Excellency Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, for his remarks, and I welcome here for the conference of today and tomorrow. As we close, we should remind ourselves of our motto for this conference, which was deepening cooperation for global affluence. This will be the first time, if it is achieved in the coming years, that the whole world is affluent. Until by 1980, the only affluent part of the world was Western Europe, North America, and Japan. The rest of the world were in poverty. In the last 50 years, we have 40-something years, we have seen spread of affluence to some other countries, China, some countries in other parts of the world, spreading affluence a bit more. And what we are aiming at is affluence for the whole world. We may not achieve it in a short time, but we should have it on the radar screen as our aim. In order to do that, we go back to our principles of NAM. And those principles, the Bandung principles, really start with humility, to be humble, not to think that what you think is the only way of doing things. In other language, we call that subjectivism. When you just think that what you think is the only way of doing things. The opposite of subjectivism is objective thinking. Objective thinking means you deal with situations the way they are, not the way they should be in your head. We who have I have spent about 60 years, more than 60 years, engaged in the political resistance in Africa here. And in those years, we have been studying all these events in the whole world, actually. And we have got some good idea. If you look at the 500 years from the time of the Renaissance in Europe, even if you don't go back to the earlier periods, you'll find that ideas were coming, new ideas, then people discover better ways of thinking. We started off with Bullionism. There was a thinking in Europe that Bullionism is the correct way of building wealth. That is gold, getting gold and silver. And some of the countries did that a lot, but they ended up being not developed. I don't want to mention individual countries. Therefore, after some time, it became clear that Bullionism was not the source of wealth. Then there were some thinkers in France who talked of they were called physiocrats. Physiocrats believed that wealth was only in agriculture. That if you emphasize agriculture, you will be prosperous. But after some time, a man called Adam Smith came along and wrote his book in the year 1776 entitled The Source of the Wealth of Nations. Where does the wealth of nations come from? And he was able to show that by private effort, free enterprise, by specialization and exchange, you can create wealth for the country. He was more correct than the others, Adam Smith. Then Karl Marx came and said, no, private property is the source of all evil. We should get rid of private property and collectivize wealth. He had some good points in central planning, but obviously there were also some philosophical mistakes in his position. Now, Adam Smith helped certain Europe to move forward, but something else came up which he had not foreseen. This was the issue of the market. If you produce, who buys? If you produce and nobody buys, or very few people buy, you will not continue. That's how you go to the crisis in Europe of 1929, the collapse of the capitalist system, the depression. That's how now another thinker, Maynard Keynes, came along and said, you people, you forget the issue of aggregate demand. That even if you give money, free money to people in their pockets, they buy what is produced, it will help the economy. That's how the idea of the welfare state came, where to give money to people even when they are doing nothing. Now, you can see just in that period, so many ideas coming, going. This is the correct way. Instead of wasting, I really feel sorry for some of these people. They come to lecture, you lecture me, you don't know what you are talking about. So therefore, now, I'm glad we are all here. I want to assure you that we seem to be on the right way, unlike the other people who are full of themselves and think that the only way is the way they think. When we were busy in our political struggles, they would come and ask me, are you pro-East or pro-West? I look at these people. Sometimes I would want to use bad words, but I would restrain myself and to say, do you think I'm an idiot? I am pro myself, I'm not pro anybody. Why would you not have it in your head that this man or this group of people are pro their own interests? Why would you think that my job is to be pro this one or the other one, and I have no other job except that? That's really incredible shallowness. Therefore, it's good that this movement has been going on. We have the capacity to solve many of these problems if we cooperate among themselves, because remember, we have been saying that wealth comes from producing goods and services and selling them. Now that means three things. Number one, investment to produce the goods or the services. A factory, a hotel, a transport business, that is either good or service produced. And we can cooperate here. Those people with some surplus capital can invest in our countries, and we produce goods and services, which means that the NAM governments must create conducive atmosphere for investments to take place. The NAM countries also sometimes make mistakes. Like here in Uganda. Uganda was moving very well in the 1960s. Then we had a man called Idi Amin. I don't know whether you heard of him. He was a soldier, a British soldier, poor, no education. He came and took over the government. We decided to fight him. But in a very short time, he expelled our Asians. There were Asian people who had come from Asia and settled here, especially India, Pakistan. This property here, this is a joint venture between the government and one of those people, one of our Indian origin people. Idi Amin expelled all this. And yet they were a very active investment group. They were in sugar, they were in hotels, they were in steel production. So here you had a leader of a NAM country undermining his own economy. So therefore, it is very crucial that we study very carefully the issue of the investment climate in our respective countries. When we kicked out all these people and we came into government, we brought back, we gave back the properties of our Asian citizens and non-citizens that Idi Amin had taken. We gave them back. We had a hot debate in Parliament. Some people saying this, some other. We said no, they must get back their properties. And they got their properties. And this one here is one of those people who came back as soon as he heard that we had given him. He came back he was in London. He came back here. And the other day I was asking our people, how many factories have been built by our Indian returnees? They told me 900 factories they had built since they came back. So this is one front line of struggle. The atmosphere for investors to produce goods and services using the raw materials we have in our respective countries. Now, once you produce a good or a service, then the next challenge is who buys what you produce. Somebody must buy it, and buy it in big quantities so that you continue expanding. That's why there is the internal market. Like Uganda here, we are a population of 46 million people, so they buy. But the internal market of Uganda is not enough. That's why we need the regional market, integration in East Africa, in Africa, so that we deal with the issue of the market regionally and nationally. But internationally, since we are members of the same group of countries with similar interests, we should promote trade among ourselves. Because when I buy from you, I'm supporting your prosperity. And when you buy from me, you are supporting my prosperity. And we shall, I don't know how the secretariat is organized of NAM and on the G77 to bring ideas of how we can promote and expand interstate trade among the NAM countries. We, the Africans, have been supporting, we, the Ugandans here, have been supporting the prosperity of others from our pockets by buying what they produce. You hear that I have been around for a long time. By 1962, when Uganda got independence, I was 18 years old, and I was already active as a youth, and I was following everything. At that time, we were buying British products because we were a British colony. We would buy British cars, Bedfords, Morris Minor, Austin. I remember those vehicles. Range Rover, only British vehicles, British-made vehicles. When we got independence, our leaders started importing vehicles from France, the Peugeots, from Germany, the Mercedes-Benz, but especially from Japan. And we have been buying a lot of vehicles from Japan. But Japan are not wise traders. I told them, you Japanese, we are enriching you with our pockets. We are buying your vehicles. All clans of Japanese vehicles are here. Pajero, I don't know which clan, the other clan, Mitsubishi. Why don't you come and assemble at least these vehicles in Uganda? They were not interested. Okay. I see you want to take blood from me. You don't want to give some blood to me. Now, we are making our own vehicles. I don't know whether these people can show those vehicles on this screen here. Have you got those pictures or you have failed? All those vehicles are electric vehicles being made by our people.
Because of time, the President's speech or closing remarks from the 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit have been cut short, but you can still access that on UBC TV later on the station. But we still move on with UBC News tonight. And of course, the President, Yoweri Museveni, has been commended for his extraordinary leadership in Africa. The remarks were made by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines, Ralpha, while speaking at the closing of the 19th NAM Summit at Speak Resort Munyonyo. Gonzalez called upon all world leaders to demand for an end to the bombings against the innocent lives of people of the Palestine.
We go back a very long way. We met, I believe, for the first time in Tanzania around 1972 when he was studying in Dar es Salaam. It's now 51 years, just over 51 years ago, that I first came to Uganda as a doctoral student. Quite enjoyed it then. I've come subsequently. I have a lot of friends here. Uganda is my home. I claim it as such. And Africa is a noise in our blood, an echo in our bones in the Caribbean. And the strengthening of African and Caribbean unity is at the top of the agenda of my government and of course, the people in the Caribbean and Latin America. In the foundation of the NAM, Kwame Nkrumah said that we look neither east nor west, but we look forward. We look to the future. It is a long time, a long journey, and through the vicissitudes of life and living and production, and all the changing scenes, we have arrived at a new inflection point in the evolution of human history. We are at a point where the complexities and challenges and the global turmoil, they are of such a nature that the old order can no longer hold, yet the new is yet to begin. And the NAM and the G77, the developing world, the South, we have a special role to play. We have been told by those who have dominated the world for quite a while that the central contradiction in the world today revolved on the question of democracy versus autocracy. Well, from the trenches of the Caribbean, that has never been the central contradiction, and it is not today. The central contradiction is about who gets what, when, where, and how, who owns and controls the resources, and who determines the distribution of those resources. That is how it has been, and that is how it is today. And the restless South, justifiably, are demanding a better share of what the world has to offer. The poor, the marginalized, the disadvantaged. We are in quest for sustainable development, for peace. We want to see the climate change issues resolved. We want a better environment, a better future for our children and grandchildren. It is more difficult now for those who have been wedded to imperialism and hegemony to co-opt or to contain or to control those whom they consider the restless ones in the South. But there's a time and season for everything. And what we have to do, and we know it and we heard it in all the speeches, we have to work together in solidarity with one another and not allow ourselves to be divided as hitherto. And it is this solidarity around specific objectives which will bring about the upliftment of ourselves and all humanity. Peace, security, sustainable development, a good environment, and prosperity for all, not just a handful in a few privileged countries. We have under consideration issues old and new, some continuing. Cuba is here, heroic Cuba. Cubans gave their lives in the struggle for the defense of the independence of Angola. And at the Battle of Cueto Valley, when they defeated the racist South Africans in conjunction with the forces of the MPLA, and in the process assisted in opening the cell doors of Nelson Mandela. Yet Cuba, with all its sacrifices, are still today bombarded by unilateral coercive measures. It is necessary and desirable that this NAM restates its solidarity with Cuba and call for the end to the criminal embargo of this magnificent land of our Caribbean. We have been making strides. Recently, by our own efforts in the community of states of Latin America and the Caribbean, we have set a framework together through the Argyle Declaration in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a framework for peace between Guyana and Venezuela, and not to have open conflict. This is what we have to do in the NAM, this is what we have to do in the G77. Right before our very eyes, a terrible genocide is unfolding before us. The first genocide, the first televised genocide in human history. And yet, complicit nations in the West, in North America, in Europe, are arming and financing the forces in the Israeli government which are committing this horrendous act of barbarism. Surely, elemental humanity must demand that there be a ceasefire, and this should stop. You know, I was having a conversation with a woman who is not political. She was watching Al Jazeera and watching the slaughter of children, 10,000 in 100 days. And she said to me in an act of a cry of hopelessness, helplessness really, can't the world do something about this? And she burst in tears. Have we reached such a stage in our human condition that collectively we cannot be the conscience of the world and bring an end to this savagery against the Palestinian people?
International Airport, where our reporter Robert Onyango is on standby to let us know about what is exactly happening around this time. Robert Onyango, you're live. Can you please update us about what's happening at the airport?
Well, thank you, Sharon Tomusha, and our viewers of UTC TV. I'm Robert Onyango from the VIP terminal here at Entebbe International Airport. This is our 6th day of operation here at the airport, and from day one, you have been seeing the live images and updates in as far as those coming in to attend the NAM Summit and probably the G77 Summit, which is almost kicking off tomorrow, 21st. Then as of today and even yesterday, Friday, we have been receiving and getting more of those presidents or even heads of delegations who have been exiting the country. Probably we're told that most of the presidents who left like Friday and even today, they were going in the neighboring DRC to attend the swearing ceremony of the president of DRC. Probably we are hoping that most of them will make a return trip here to Kampala to wind up the program of now probably G77, which is kicking off tomorrow. Among the presidents who left on Friday and even today, Saturday, they include the presidents of the Republic of Kenya, the president of the Republic of Somalia, Djibouti. In the morning of Saturday today, we witnessed the departure of the presidents like those of Ghana and other countries. Then in the evening of today, we have also seen off the president of the Republic of Libya and even the vice president of the Republic of Iran. Then this automatically gives you the clear picture that those who came to attend the NAM summit, they believe the business is done and they have to cross over to where they came from to ensure that they also pick up the business of those countries. Then probably those coming back, especially for those African presidents who left in the morning and probably those who left so yesterday on Friday, they will also be just starting getting into the country. We expect like by midnight, 1 or 2 would have even returned to the country, and probably we have been given an assurance that those who have also indicated that they're coming back is the president of Namibia. He will probably make his way back to Kampala for G77 summit, and probably we shall also be giving you the updates and live images of their return. Then the atmosphere at Entebbe International Airport, and probably if I can shed for you a clear picture of what is happening at the commercial terminal, business is returning to normality because we are seeing a lot of ordinary flights and people are almost still using the terminal for their other businesses. We know this is the exit and the entrance of the country, Uganda, one of those busiest places in the country when we talk on a daily basis. So there have been 1 or 2 interruptions there during the influx of these heads of state, but that have not always also limited the operations of the ordinary Ugandans, and especially those who are going for businesses. So we want to give you a hope that yes, as we planned as a country, and especially for the security and technical team here at the 2 terminals, what was planned is what we have seen. So far there is no incident we can point out that this has been a mistake or probably this has delayed this program, but we have moved on simultaneously as we planned as a country, and we hope like at the end of the day we will register success and teams will have to get a thumb up for whatever role they are played in as far as receiving these guests. Because you look at the terminal here where we are at the VVIP section, there was a moment like yesterday, Friday, where we received like 4 or 3 presidents coming in almost a very short time. But the people here on ground were very, very prepared to ensure that they had to simultaneously organize, when I can say, transport or fleet to ensure that every president or every delegate, every head of state who came in within that short time, he was in position to leave the airport as planned. And this is also a credit to those particular individuals and sections of Ugandans who were given different authorities and probably assignments in this line of receiving and even seeing off heads of state and heads of delegations to Munyonyo or other places where they are residing. Then as a country, we want to believe that we shall still at least up our game. And as media here, I can also give you an update that we have automatically moved as we planned. There have been no disruptions here on how we have operated, and I guess many Ugandans can give us a credit that they have gotten whatever they wanted from us. If there are those moments where they have missed, they should bear with us, because some have been technical and security reasons as to why we are not in position to give them those updates as they would have anticipated to have so. So Sharon, that is what is currently here, and our Ugandans viewing us, then probably we also want to tell them that for us, we are not even leaving this evening for probably night or supper. We will keep here at the VVIP terminal to ensure that we get the clear pictures of whoever will be returning, and probably even other heads of state and dignitaries are making their way to Uganda to take part in the G77 plus China summit, which we all know that is kicking off tomorrow, 21st, and it will go up to 23rd January 2024. Unless when you have any other question for me, but I want to rush to the bed.
I was just wondering if there's any special preparations for G77 plus China, or it's still the same thing because they're both summits that were sort of planned for by the same people. What do you have to say?
Of course, there is no special arrangement for the 2 summits. What we can all count on is that for the VVIPs who are coming here where I am, the protocols are the same, whether you are coming for G77 or you are coming for NAM. So there's no special arrangement for the 2 summits. It is a uniform arrangement where if you are president, you have to get a guard of honor here. If you are not, you are saluted and also taken through the protocols until you leave this place. So whether it is NAM or G77, there was nothing special, but your level of, I think, where you are coming from, probably for us, we have here a case where prime ministers, we have seen cases where even a vice president is not treated in the same way. some of the prime ministers have been treated to, but that has been explained that some prime ministers who made their way to Uganda, from their countries, they are the supreme heads of those countries. Yes. Take an example of Ethiopia. The prime minister of Ethiopia is the president of Ethiopia. So in those cases, you need to also give guidance to the people watching us that indeed, if they saw some vice president not receiving these protocols and they applied on the prime ministers, it is the arrangement from the other mother country that in those specific countries where prime ministers are heads of state, they also have to be taken through the protocols according to different heads of state for specific countries.
Thank you so much, Robert Onyango. We'll definitely keep updated because you are also still going to be a part of the team that is going to keep us updated on the G77 plus China summits. Thank you so much to Ivan, the Presidential Press Unit as well, for all the updates that you've been making. And we still continue with UBC News tonight, where President Yoweri Museveni has met Li Zhonghong, the special representative of His Excellency Xi Jinping, the President of China. Now, Zhong Zong, who is also the member of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China Central Committee and the Vice Premier of the State Council, is representing His Excellency Xi Jinping at the 19th Non-Aligned Summit and G77 plus China summits. In a sideline meeting during the NAM summit at Speak Resort Munyonyo, President Museveni expressed profound gratitude to China for its unwavering support during the anti-colonial struggle and highlighted its crucial role in bolstering Africa's economic development since its earlier days of independence. Take a look.
Ever since 1949, when the Communist Party took power in China, China has been on the side of Africa. Since China has grown economically, it has helped Africa even more, including Uganda. We don't agree with the shallow. What I said in my speech is what we have studied very carefully. You don't have to have the whole world thinking the same way. What is important is to have the minimum common interests and then deal with those, and then you leave the other issues to each society. So we are very happy with China. China's contribution in the anti-colonial struggle, in the economic cooperations area, China is acting correctly. What we want to emphasize now is market access, because this is the best way to help one another and help one another sustainably. Because if you buy what I produce, you are supporting my prosperity. So China to open their market to African products is a very easy way of how to help one another and for mutual benefit. So China should take the lead to buy from Africa, but also to buy not raw materials, to buy also finished products, so that we have balanced and value-added trade, in balanced trade in value-added items. You are most welcome. We are going to be together tomorrow on the G77. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, that was Mr. Lu Guozhong, the special representative of His Excellency Xi Jinping, the President of China. And still with more stories about the NAM summit, the UN General Assembly President Denis Francis says plans are underway to amend the UN Charter to allow timely decisions to be taken in case of wars and conflicts. He says that the current charter has restrictions in terms of timely decisions and says that a lot has changed since the UN Charter was made. Mr. Denis also reveals that negotiations for Africa to get 2 seats of the UN Security Council are ongoing, with hope that it will be granted. He was addressing the media on sidelines of the NAM summit in Kampala in relation to the Israel aggressions in Gaza and conflicts between Russia and Ukraine.
The process is ongoing. Everyone accepts that the Security Council as currently constituted is not fit for purpose. It has to be made fit for purpose. It has to be democratized. It has to reflect current realities of global power and global influence. and it must be agile and responsive to the dictates and demands of building peace and security in the early 21st century. So that some things have to change. When the Security Council was invented 75 years ago, many of the countries that now exist, many of the African states that now exist, did not at that time exist. They would have been under colonial domination. Thankfully, that era has passed. So we need to create a council that better represents the current reality, but more than that, better represents the aspirations of the people in the global south. I make no apologies for saying that, because the council has a particular structure, something called the P5, the permanent five, and of that five, only one might describe as coming from the global south, and that's China. And China is a unique case because, of course, China is a large country, very powerful, very influential. But there are no other countries from the global south. That clearly is not satisfactory in the early 21st century. So, don't be frustrated because there is no decision as of now regarding what would be the formula by which the Security Council will be constituted. That is a question that will come out in the negotiation. I've heard the African states negotiate. They're very adept at it. They've done their homework. Their capacity to reflect their needs and their interests is not in doubt. So let us allow the process time to mature before we begin to get frustrated. The matter is still on the table, and so Africa still has a chance to have 2 seats assigned to it. We'll come to the end of this briefing.
And of course, that was the UN General Assembly President Denis Francis, who was talking about plans of the UN that are underway to amend the UN Charter to allow timely decisions to be taken in case of wars and conflicts, and so much more. But moving on from that, the President of the UN General Assembly was impressed by the work being done at Makerere University Innovation Hub, of course, today when he visited, and encouraged the youth to turn their ideas into reality. He expressed this appreciation while touring their facility, which houses a variety of innovations. While he commended the innovators for their good work, he also encouraged them to explore the activities for an enhanced source of income. Take a look as we covered the UN General Assembly President Denis Francis.
Denis Francis, the president of the 78th session of the UN General Assembly, toured the Makerere University Innovation Hub to appreciate the various ideas the student innovators have turned into reality.
We are able to integrate the different energy generation sources. We have solar, we have wind, and we have fuel cells. So all these can be put on the grid in that to solve the problem of unreliable power.
Accompanied by the UNDP resident representative for Uganda, Denis Francis encouraged innovators to expand their sources of income.
I used to feel that burden of seeing fruits at home being wasted and thrown away in periods of their print of seasons. So I decided to add value onto them. Like currently, I'm looking at the fruits of sweet yellow banana, green lemon, and then I integrate soybean milk, then put in honey.
In the real world, because the wine will have to be financed. In the real world, it will take you 1 year to be able to start to sell the wine. But you need income in that year because you have other expenses. So maybe you have to do other products with a shorter maturation time that you can sell to give you the income to tide you over until the wine is ready. Huh? That's business, that's the reality.
The hub houses industrial art innovations, 3D modeling, engineering, artificial intelligence, textile, among others.
Ideation space. Most of the ideas start from here. But why is this space important? We are in a digital world. So most of the designs are going to be digitally enabled.
Yes.
So we've had these high-tech computers with high-tech softwares that are going to help students design products.
It's a software designed, or call it a technology that is designed to create simulations. It makes you go to that dimension where, like, at that where you're standing, it's not a physical appearance, but it takes you to another world, any place, anytime.
I'm seeing, if you guys have ever gone to Nachivo Stadium, I'm seeing those designed kind of steps and seats. So each time I turn like this, I'm seeing a different simulation and perspective. Sorry, you guys are not able to see that. I'm trying to paint for you a picture.
Headsets, and they use internet. They have all provisions. They can use Wi-Fi. They use Wi-Fi, and they have all provisions. You can design. You can go to YouTube. You can go attend meetings, virtual meetings. Actually, some people have used it in their retirement age for their mental health.
To chill.
To chill, because you can attend any meeting, be anywhere at any time.
So with innovation, there's nothing you can discuss without talking about the internet. So most of the things are just a good component to make us appreciate the fact that, internet came, it's in the space, and we have to adapt to it. You either adapt to the internet space or it catches up with you. This is the innovation hub.
Dennis Francis stated that the center is an extraordinary hub that influences the development of intellectual property, enhancing value in society.
The opportunities are as wide as they are broad, because the imagination, there is, in economic development, we talk about the creative sector as being, and when we say creative sector, for example, we're talking about all the things that young people like to wear. We're talking about Gucci. We're talking about Donatella, what is her surname? We're talking about all the Italian design functions, furniture, clothing, things for the home, haberdashery, all the stuff. That is the basis of Italian economic development, design. And it's not just design of clothing or garments. It's design of everything we use in daily life that gives an edge and distinction to life that people seek after.
The Makerere Vice-Chancellor expressed optimism that the facility would transform Makerere University and other innovators from society.
Innovators coming from Katwe who have got good ideas. The students who came up with the first diesel engine in Africa, they are not Makerere University students. They are artisans from Katwe who just came to get ideas, to get improvements on what they were thinking about from our professors. But it was their idea. So we want to work with everybody. It doesn't matter whether you are studying here, you are studying at another university, or you are not even at a university, you are there in the public, you are doing something. Provided you have a good idea, this place is made for you.
According to Elsie Atafua, the UNDP resident representative for Uganda, UNDP supports young innovators through public universities as a space for youth to think, design and create.
40,000 people at every year are schooling here. So imagine 40,000 people going through the spaces where they can bring their dreams to life and they can create jobs and unicorns. So we do hope that through this powerful port, which is one of 13 in Africa, and the large Timbuktu initiative, will create opportunities for jobs, for Africa's development, and to be able to also support at least 50 million people directly and indirectly in terms of livelihoods. So we want to create value in terms of jobs, about $10 billion and we have created through this initiative called Timbuktu, of which the University Pod is one of those, the largest initiative that supports public universities.
This innovation pod is part of a wide initiative called the Timbuktu to support public universities and startup ecosystems to enhance opportunities for youth around the world. Ivan Kahwa and Dan Lugemwa, UBC News.
Thank you so much, Ivan Kahwa and Dan Lugema. That was the UN General Assembly President, Dennis Francis, who was touring the facility of the Innovation Hub at Makerere University and was mesmerized by what the youth are doing. Government has revealed plans to construct women specialized hospitals in 18 regions across the country to ease access to these services at the district and other lower levels. While on a guided 12 Mulago women specialized hospital organized for spouses of the heads of states and government delegations who attended the 19th NAM Summit, Minister for Health Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng represented the First Lady Janet Kataham Sevin and emphasized the importance of motivating workers through training in order to enable health workers give excellent maternal and newborn care. Take a look.
The Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, has taken spouses of heads of state in government delegations attending the 19th Non-Aligned Movement Summit on a guided tour of Mulago Specialized Women and Neonatal Hospital. They toured the radiation section, ultrasound room, CT scan room that focuses on detecting anomalies in unborn babies, the presidential suite, and the neonatal intensive care unit.
Of course, yeah, because I've seen something new. The kangaroo experience initiative, something that I think we are going to try and develop in our country or something. Is a good innovation. And another also this urogynecologic station, also we don't have it. So I think we want to work also to do how can we do the same and have the same experiences.
We are very excited as a city, Kampala city, that we have a specialized women hospital, and I urge our women, come to this hospital, whether you're giving birth, whether you have illnesses of any kind. There is no need to go to neighboring countries. This hospital is one of the best in the region.
The spouses were also taken through specialties run in the hospitals like the fetal maternal medicine,
including the fetal maternal medicine, care for the very sick newborns who are as small as 500 grams. Also the urogynecological procedures that are done, the specialized imaging equipments that we have.
While delivering the speech of the First Lady, Janet Kataham Seveni, Dr. Cheng said what is at Mulago Specialized Women and Neonatal Hospital is to be replicated in 18 regions across the country to take services closer to the people.
Fundamental issues that affect the productivity of health workers is motivation. And motivation is not only in terms of money, but also in ensuring that the environment that they work in is conducive, they have the necessary equipment, and they are empowered to do whatever they desire to do for the well-being of a patient. And the government of Uganda takes that issue very seriously. Many of you will recall that recently salaries were enhanced, and this will continue to be enhanced as the revenue base increases.
Despite achievements in reproductive health care and handling women with complex issues like pregnant mothers with cancer and carrying out constructive surgeries, the hospital has a challenge of human resource deficit that stands at 36.6%.
So really to offer that kind of service with a few human resources is quite a challenge. It brings burnout, it brings to delays in care. But also our patients sometimes may go out unsatisfied. However, the government is working on it. We are seeing an increment in wage in a stepwise path. So we are waiting to see that really our human resources up to that. We do have the equipment, we have the medical supplies. We need more human resource.
Dr. Gideon Mogisa, a gynecologist at the hospital, explains the new advanced surgical technology that has benefited patients.
That if you're going to work on a patient with a fibroid, with a cyst, for example, Normally, the normal surgery would be that you make an incision, which is about 15 centimeters. But with Minwax surgery, you are able to make a small incision about 1 centimeter. I'm going to look in detail what I'm doing. I'll see better. Number two, there will be less blood loss for the patient. Also, you don't have your hands in the abdomen to touch many tissues. You have minimal touching of the tissue, so even the healing is better for the patient.
I'm Nafka Farida and Juma Nsamba at Mulago.
Metu Bus Industries, Namamve, the manufacturers of buses for transporters, schools, tour operators, and special purpose vans and any customized vehicle. Metu Bus Industries offers a range of buses known for safety, comfort, and reliability. Depending on your needs, a bus can simply be a point A to point B people mover with just seats, or a special design that includes power outlet, Wi-Fi, television, refreshment center, and any other specification. Buy your buses from Metu and support industrialization of Uganda. Contact us on 0788 118586 or 0782 030303. Email us metuafricabus@gmail.com. Visit our website www.metubusafrica.com.
Have you packed more with Harbour jelly and Harbour foam? Yes, we packed. It will protect your skin from skin rashes. More with pack. It is a new improved more with Harbour jelly. So soft and smooth. It is a more with Harbour jelly.
Tell me, kids, the scent. Any irritations? No more rashes and irritations. Movit Herbal Jelly and Herbal Soap is rich in natural herbs for a smooth and glowing skin.
Movit All Day Confidence.
When it is KB o'clock, you need more from your voice bundles. That's why MTN is offering you more minutes across all networks that don't expire. Buy the new 90-minute Freedom Bundle at 5K or the 200-minute bundle at 10K and just with no limit. Katiteri ate, no excuses. Make the call now. Dial *100 *21 hash or use the My MTN app and enjoy your Freedom Bundle today. MTN. Together we are unstoppable. Terms and conditions apply. MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Start the new year in style with a variety of wine products from K Roma Uganda Limited. Bella Sweet Red Wine, Bella Pruko Wine, Bella Alta Wine, Bella Royal Dry Wine, Bella Passion Fruit Wine, Bella Hibiscus Juice, Bella Hibiscus Soft Drink, Bella Hibiscus Tea, among others. Available in all shops and supermarkets countrywide. K Roma Uganda Limited, the producers of Bella Wines, are located in Chirabulindo, Chira Municipality. For more information, call 0772 506 155 or 0704 161 398. Bella Wines, savor the test.
The energy of this land comes to life in dreams and memories. It lights up in these nights and leads us to new horizons. It pushes us to go further and see bigger. The energy of this land comes from here. It comes from Africa, and it vibrates in each of us.
Empowered by Africa.
Oryx Lubricants, powered by Africa.
Welcome back to UBC News Tonight, and the State Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Godfrey Kabyanga, has provided a comprehensive overview of the proceedings at the recent Non-Aligned Movement Summit. Among the key issues discussed is a focus on resolving the two-state conflict, with the majority of member states expressing strong criticism for the ongoing Israeli conflict in Gaza. Notable figures supporting this initiative include our very own President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, who also serves as the NAM chairperson, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, a chairperson of the African Union Commission, and His Excellency Dennis Francis, the President of the UN General Assembly, among others.
By yesterday, we had received 117 delegations, and out of those 28 were led by presidents. So we had received 28 presidents. The rest were led by vice presidents, prime ministers, ministers, and some were led by ambassadors. So only 3 delegations out of the 120 member states had not arrived by yesterday. But we also received 10 observer delegations. So in total, the delegations are 127 who had arrived by yesterday. NAM is discussing the two-state resolution. That one, they have agreed they must push for it. The two-state resolution. That resolution was by the United Nations. And then by yesterday they were concluding, the heads of states, on the supporting South Africa on their case at the International Criminal Court, and that one was also being pursued. Then in NAM, they were also discussing there is a conflict in China with the Southeast Asia Sea. It has also been on the agenda, and I think they are going to conclude on it. But there was also IGAD. You know that the people are not are looking at only NAM. We have 4 conferences which will be running, because we had the speakers and the presiding officers conference, then NAM, then while NAM was going on, there was IGAD, and then after NAM it will be the G77. But also IGAD made 2 important resolutions. One, the de-escalation of conflicts between Sudan and Somalia. And then another resolution was that the 2 warring factions in Sudan, in the government of Sudan, those two leaders should meet in 2 weeks. So NAM and IGAD have really made very important resolutions, and it's now an issue of pushing them forward. It is just a vote of confidence in the leadership of our country, and more especially in the leadership of the person of President Yoweri Museveni and the NRM government, because that is something which has never happened. But that shows how the rest of the world recognize the efforts of President Yoweri Museveni in transforming this country and also in being a peacemaker. So we should be proud as Ugandans that we have a leader who is recognized in the whole world. There are so many countries which would love to host a NAM, which would love to host G77, and which would love to lead. But this time round, the groupings zeroed on Uganda as a host and also to take over the leadership mantle. Diplomatically, we are trying to enhance our diplomatic reputation. On the global scale, we are trying to make our country visible and building confidence that this country is safe, security is tight, because some delegations had been scared away by these big brothers sending alerts that Uganda is not safe. They had even campaigned that some of the countries shouldn't come. They had even campaigned that we arrest homosexuals, we kill them, things like that. But all that now has been demystified because of NAM. we have not had any challenges, big challenges. Everything is going on as planned. And I would like to thank the Ugandans for really being so hospitable, because even the delegates who have not received complaints that they have been mistreated or they have had no major incidents in the whole arrangement. Even those who are staying outside the conference area, Munyonyo, the conference hotel, are comfortable. So we are, I think we have really scored as far as being a hospitable country is concerned.
Political scientists have advised President Yoweri Museveni, who is the current chairman of the non-aligned movement, to make structural reforms for effective monitoring of the organization by establishing a secretariat that will coordinate the activities of the movement. Now, Dr. Paul Lakuma, a senior research fellow at the Economic Policy Research Center of Makerere University, said that in an interview that the establishment of a permanent secretariat for NAM will play a critical role in the implementation of the NAM resolutions. Take a look as Saddam reports.
Political scientists have called upon President Museveni, who is the current chairman of the non-aligned movement, to use his power and push for the establishment of a secretariat for effective monitoring and follow-up on the resolutions made. Dr. Paul Lakuna, the senior research fellow at Economic Policy Research Center, said that if NAM organization is to be effective, the establishment of a secretariat will play a critical role in following up the resolutions.
One of the reasons the non-aligned movement has not achieved a lot of its objectives in the last 60 years is the lack of a framework or the lack of institutional arrangement to follow up on the agreements which are signed by the representative head of states and heads of government. And it's our prayer, we the citizens of those nations that are under the chairmanship of the President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, if a secretariat could be established, preferably an interim secretariat in Kampala, to follow up before members vote where the headquarters of the non-aligned movement could be. We could start from Kampala. I would implore the new chairman to put that as one of his agenda. It's easy to discuss things at strategic level, but following them up, the operational issues, the bread and butter of a system depends on bureaucracy, a very efficient bureaucracy, and we need to establish that bureaucracy.
During the summit, global conflicts were discussed. Top on the agenda was the Israel-Palestinian Gaza war that has left over 20,000 lives lost. The President of the United Nations General Assembly, Dennis Francis, called upon the non-aligned movement to exert its influence in bringing a halt to the carnage that is hopelessly being witnessed in the Gaza Strip.
After various iterations of war over several decades, I am convinced that a negotiated political solution is the sole path through which both Israelis and Palestinians will see realized their fundamental right to a life of peace based on the two-state solution. As President of the General Assembly, I will support and encourage any and all initiatives to that end.
It is from this background that the South African representative to the summit, Grace Naledi Pandor, called for the inclusive of the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, which will represent the bigger percentage of the global population. The current 5 permanent members for the United Nations include the United States of America, Russia, China, France, and the United Kingdom. This, according to Grace, cannot address the needs of all countries and people in the world.
As this non-aligned movement, we should continue to advocate strongly for a system of global governance that is fair, equitable, and has the capacity to respond to the needs of all countries and peoples. A system that is not just a tool for the most powerful countries of the world. These reforms include our belief that the United Nations Security Council is in need of urgent reform. After all, it has the unique mandate for the maintenance of international peace and security and is not of a form that is able to exercise that mandate. We believe the Security Council should be expanded with urgency to include countries from Africa, Asia, and Latin America as permanent members.
Since 2005, Africa, through the African Union, has been pushing for the position of the permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, but this has not succeeded. Political analysts, however, say that this move will be difficult on account that it may challenge the powers and interests of the 5 permanent members.
As you have to do, but once you get to the Security Council, the dynamics change, the whole dynamic change. We talk about the Security Council, but the decision made affect economies, economically, politically, and in quite a number of ways. So if they can push for something and we attain at least maybe 10 to maybe even 20%, 15% of what they are pushing for, that will be a move in the right direction. But the way I know how the current members, certain members that I can't mention one by one here, remain in charge, the likelihood that we'll achieve it wholesale is most likely not going to come through.
The first global organization was the League of Nations, and it could not hold the world together. It collapsed, and then after the Second World War, we came to the United Nations. And then, of course, these countries positioned themselves as the top countries. But I can assure you, after over 75 years, things have changed. Countries have come up. There are countries that were not anywhere. They're so powerful. So are we going to perpetually deny them a position on the Security Council? I think the United Nations Security Council, or the United Nations as an entity itself, needs to metamorphose. It needs to grow from this stage with the current realities. The current realities, I'm not even advocating for in Africa. We could even have as many as 6 to 8 countries to join this club.
The non-aligned movement member states consist of 120 members, where 80% are part of the United Nations. Despite not having a secretariat and its resolutions being non-binding, it can influence decisions at the United Nations.
And again, therefore, this organization called NAM realized that there could be benefits for not aligning yourself with either the East or the West. And of course, being a number of countries, I think 120, had a voice. And that voice is very relevant in an organization like the United Nations. And therefore, you can see that NAM translated or transisted from focusing on anti-colonialism movement to a development movement within these countries.
Formed in 1961, the non-aligned movement seeks to promote the interests of its member states, which include economic transformation, among others. Sada Mubale, UBC News, Kampala.
The Children's Surgical Hospital in Entebbe is among the places lined up by government that will be visited by spouses of heads of states and delegates that will take part in the G77 plus China summit. The hospital was set up to provide free pediatric surgical care in the country for children aged 28 days to 18 years old. The surgical hospital identified the need of more medical specialists to deal with the increasing number of children who need surgical procedures.
This is the Children's Surgical Hospital in Entebbe, which was opened in 2021 to provide free pediatric surgical care in the country for children aged 28 days to 18 years old. On arrival, one is stunned with the beauty, tranquility, and cleanness of the place with green landscape, which is important in the patient recovery and healing. The facility boasts 100,000 square feet of floor space, 72 beds, 6 for intensive care, 16 for sub-intensive care, and 50 beds in the ward. It also has 1 observation and stabilization ward, 6 outpatient clinics, diagnostic center, a laboratory for analysis, a blood bank, and a pharmacy, among others. The hospital was built to handle children's surgeries. Uganda faces considerable challenges in the provision of pediatric surgery and care for children and young people. The head nurse at the Children's Surgical Hospital, Giulia Pedroni, says they only deal with elective pediatric surgery.
Saying this is an elective surgical hospital, so our mandate is to perform elective surgeries for patients with some kind of diseases. I mean that what our main groups of disease are congenital and acquired defects of the gastrointestinal system, and we do a lot of urology and andrology and gynecologic operation. Then we do also functional plastic surgeries, so all of our surgery basically are aimed to correct conditions that are more or less severe, that were either there at the birth of the children or that were acquired for some reason, like post-traumatic or post-acute illness.
According to available statistics at the hospital, 14,470 patients have visited the hospital, with 2,125 surgical interventions done to date. Pedroni noted that emergency medical team conducts screening missions in different hospitals to identify children who require transfer from urgent pediatric surgery and follow-up care for patients that have been operated.
Thank God we can manage most of the cases, but also we did get some patients that we were afraid we could not handle. So unfortunately it happened that we got patients that already presented themselves at our outpatient department in extremely bad condition. Few of them were already attempted to be operated in other hospitals, but without success because they were very complicated patients. Some of them were congenital, few of them were acquired disease due either to trauma or to some acute illness that, I don't know, created intestinal perforation or intestinal fistulas. So unfortunately, yes, some of the patients arrived in extremely weak conditions. So for these patients, what we do is usually to have a period of hospitalization inside the intensive care unit, so that in intensive care we can really provide the maximum support for the patients, and then once the patients are a little bit more stable, they can be transferred here. And then when they are completely stable, usually the patients, they are transferred from here to the normal ward.
A special class was established for children to have class sessions. Here they reflect on their studies aimed at making the patients feel at home and safe.
We have in this hospital, it was put here just to make the children stay here as seamless as possible. You know, sometimes for the young children it can really be traumatizing to be in a hospital because we have some with conditions that may need them to be admitted here for more than a month or 2. So being contained in one place, in bed, can really be traumatizing to them. So they can come here, we do something in class, we also do play, like they have a normal life.
The facility generates its energy from the sun, equipped with over 2,500 solar panels, which provide part of the electricity needed by the building, reducing on the energy costs. Nutrition schedule for both patients and staff was also changed in line with their treatment. As head of logistics, Mateo Di Alonso explains.
For sure, the diets are different. So we have a specific diet for patients, and more we have special diet for patients because maybe someone cannot eat protein, some other one cannot eat salt. So we have to follow all the nutritional indication that we have from the doctor. The canteen for the employees for sure is different because we are going to provide more calories.
Just like any other institution, Children's Surgical Hospital also face some challenges like lack of medical specialists, which are critical in ensuring high standards in pediatric surgery and reduction of child mortality in the country.
Challenges are usually due to the number of patients that we have. So our let's say, activities are increasing, and of course we struggle to keep the pace that we would like to keep. We don't want to let the patients wait too long, and as the population is knowing us more, we are getting more patients. So this is of course a first struggle that we are trying to face. And also the other struggle is the lack of some professionals. We also, our team is international, so we have expats from everywhere in the world, but the majority of the staff is all Ugandan. And even among the consultants from the specialized doctor, we try as much as possible to get doctors from Uganda. The challenge is that some of the specialized doctors that we need are not so much available. So there is a lack of some personnel that up to now we still have to cover with expats, such as anesthesiologists, such as radiologists, and also pediatrician. We struggle to get Ugandans. So
Zahara Abigaba, UBC News.
Thank you so much, Zahara Abigaba. Some of the international values that veteran political leader Cecilia Ogwal stood for were Pan-Africanism, peace, human rights, and moral uprightness. Short of these always attracted her loud voice to the extent that even the international community listened when she spoke. Barely days after Parliament released a program for her burial, our reporter, Henry Okrud, explores avenues in which the Dokolo politician displayed her love for Africa.
God be with you till we meet again. By his counsels guide uphold you. With his sheep securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again.
When it comes to advancing peace, she is remembered for brokering a truce between the now late Jacob Olanya and Rebecca Kadaga. This was after one of the two had lost the parliamentary speakership to the other following a hotly contested race. This attracted ululations from the newly sworn-in members of parliament. This she did because she believed in both women empowerment and leadership capacity.
I'm mindful of the fact that the Right Honorable Speaker is a very close relative of mine, a very close friend, and somebody I've been so proud of seeing her achievement in the country and outside the country. I'm also mindful of the fact that the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Jacob Olanya, is my own son, whom I brought up in politics. And I'm very proud of what he has achieved so far.
Peace was not her only passion. Pan-Africanism was part of the blood that ran in her veins. She never stopped asking questions, even when she rarely got answers.
I put this thing in Pan-African Parliament, where a fellow member of Parliament from South Africa trying to justify why homosexuality is allowed by law in South Africa. And I asked her, supposing I divorce my husband and I would want you to marry me, what do you say?
Whether on morality, peaceful coexistence, or political stability, she continued asking questions.
If you want me to allow you to come and practice homosexuality in my country, Uganda, or in my continent, Africa, I'm asking you, why don't you allow me, as an African, to come and practice polygamy in your countries?
And when she got no answers,
Oh, Africa, Africa, oh, Africa.
She answered herself,
Africa, we are moving forward. Oh,
through portrayal of her love for Africa.
This is the time to work for Africa. This is the time to work for Africa.
This earned her the unofficial title of Uganda's female Pan-Africanist of all time.
For Africa.
But where did this love come from? It all connects to her love for Africa's history, which she was partly well versed with. Her recent testament to this was during the inaugural memorial lecture of King Kabarega of Bunyoro, who courageously fought against colonial rule.
Where did we inherit this culture of violence, killing each other, killing your brother to take over power? Where did we get it? We inherited it from the colonial masters.
She took some time to explain the origin of some areas in Uganda.
I've asked some of this Baganda, what does Kololo mean? They don't know. Because that's a Luo word. And it's Chief of Witu named Kololo, Kololo. I've asked this Baganda, what does Naguru mean? They don't know. Because there's a Luo word by Chief of Wit, who was tormented by the colonial masters.
This is the history that she died wishing to see preserved.
For me, I'm very happy that today I've seen the Banyoro gathered here. Every time when I stand in parliament, abuse them, I say, you Banyoro and Baganda, you're all stupid because you do not know that until Kabulega and Kabaka Mwanga and Chief Awich and the Lango commander, Uwinyakulu, were dislodged from my own district. There was no Uganda. So, Tokolo is the birthplace of the nation we call Uganda.
God be with you till we meet again.
These are the attributes that Ugandans and indeed Africans will miss from these Pan-Africanists. The late Cecilia Ogwal dedicated her life to serving humanity, fighting for human rights, advancing women empowerment, and advocating for moral uprightness. The veteran politician who died at a hospital in India will lie in state at the Ugandan Parliament on Monday, 22nd January 2024, before being transferred to Lira for her final send-off, scheduled for Saturday, 27th January 2024.
Build the youth, build the nation. Build the youth, build the nation.
Henry Okurut, UBC.
To the country, and of course UBC TV will keep you updated on when the body arrives into the country, and also with all the details, and we'll show you the barrier and everything that will happen with the late Cecilia Ogwal. We pray that the Lord strengthens the family and friends. Turkana, Kenya nationals have compensated 120 cows to the families of the two Matanico traders who were killed in Orum, Kenya, while taking their merchandise to Lodwar, Turkana County on the 7th of December last year. The handover ceremony was held at Nanduget Army Detached, witnessed by a Kenyan delegation that was led by the Turkana County Governor Jeremiah Ekames and other political leaders. The Uganda delegation as well included, among others, 440th Brigade Commander Kano Kidega Obura, Moroto Resident District Commissioner George William Mopoa.
December 2023, two traders from Nadunget Sub-County, Moroto District, were killed in Urum in Kenya by suspected Turkana warriors in what appears to have been avoiding a revenge bloodbath. Relatives of the deceased mobilized warriors who went and raided over 300 head of cattle from the kraal of killers' relatives in Lotisan Sub-County, Moroto District. Lotisan Sub-County Chairperson John Robert Adupa and Nadungate Sub-County Chairperson Simon Peter Lotem shed more light on the 7th December murder.
Impounded or raided the cows of these innocent people. Then the innocent people went up to Kenya, crossed the border, and they went up to where the people were killed. And that's where now they got the information and they got the names of the killers.
Two people killed in Turkana. We investigate, we got the names that one is Peikan and one is the son of Meripwes.
However, the community identified the family of the killers in Turkana County who accepted to compensate the two deceased families with 60 cows each, as in the norm among Ateka communities. The Mathineko were asked to give back the 319 cows raided from the killers' relatives, although 85 cows were missing. Moroto district leaders promised to mobilize for the missing animals. Turkana County Governor Jeremiah Ekamais commended Karamoja leadership for recovery of the stolen animals. He says they have met with General Salim Saleh at his home in Oya district to discuss regulations of cross-border pastoralism between the two countries.
Negotiating a procedure where even the entry of people from that particular end back into Uganda, and even when they are exiting, there should be some amicable way and a well-designed route or a transhumance route, even when they're exiting or going back to Turkana County.
The Kenyan delegation was led by the Turkana County Governor Jeremiah Ekamais, while their Ugandan counterparts included, among others, Brigade Commander Cornel Chidega Obura, Moroto Resident District Commissioner George William Owapua, his deputy Justin Tokosan, and Moroto District leaders.
And lastly, now sports stories. The sports sector in Uganda has applauded Uganda's ascension to the Non-Aligned Movement Summit. Our chairman, positioned that the sector promises to lobby and benefit from. This has been highlighted by the National Council Sports General Secretary Dr. Bernard Patrick Ogwal, who graced the second Discovery Uganda Jacob Kiplimo run in Kapchora. Take a look.
The second edition of the Discovery Uganda Jacob Kiplimo Run has unearthed talent aplenty, with some as young as 4. It started and ended at the Boma grounds in Kapchora with more than 1,000 athletes competing in under 12, 15, 18 and the seniors categories. The under 12s ran 2 kilometers, under 15 partook of 6 kilometers, the under 18s raced 8 kilometers and the seniors 10 kilometers. National Council of Sports General Secretary Dr. Bernard Patrick Ogwal spoke benefits Uganda sports, especially for Sebei region, will reap from the non-aligned movement.
We are now looked at as a country of champions. That distinguishes us from the rest of the other countries. And indeed, is capable of bringing many more visitors to come and discover what Uganda is made of.
Ogwal further stressed the need for Kapchora to be elevated to city status in order to boost tourism alongside sports development.
Looking at the young children who participated in the run, looking at the enthusiasm of the population, I see all the people, young people, the children, all that shows you, first of all, the passion of the people of Uganda in sport. And I want to appeal again that I think this region deserves better, and in my view, we should start considering Kapchorwa a sports city because of what it has done in producing the talents.
The run was witnessed by global stars like Peruth Chemtai, Moses Kipsiro, Joshua Cheptegei, and the chief organizer Jacob Kiplimo.
And thank you for each and every one.
Thank you for embracing these programs. I request the whole community to continue embracing these programs for the development of
We are very happy and need many athletes to be churned out and nurtured.
One thing I will appeal to the government is, we need to tap talent from grassroots.
Uganda Athletics Federation Second Vice President Benjamin Injia believes that such initiatives will help grow the pool of talent to benefit Uganda.
I really appreciate government that they're addressing the issue of the facilities, the training facilities for the athletes, like the standard track, which is now put in Target, the altitude training center. These are some of the facilities that we have been lacking, and we still request government to still venture into these other more tracks.
The Jacob Kiplimo Second Discovery Uganda Run was a cash-laden event from which the seniors category winners Yeko Dismas and Kibet Doreen bagged 3.6 million Uganda shillings. The junior category winners Chemutai Hosea and Nancy Chepkerui took home 1.8 million shillings from this run, whose total cash prize was 25 million Uganda shillings.
Those are the champions of this country. Okay.
In sports, the cricket cranes are in India, where they're playing practice games and with selected teams as they continue their T20 World Cup preparations. In badminton, a team of 7 para-athletes was Friday flagged off to Egypt, where they are to play in an Olympic qualifier tournament. In football and netball, Uganda Cranes defeated Kuwait 2-0 in a friendly game played in Egypt Friday evening, whereas the She Cranes will be in action this evening at Wembley, England, as they kickstart their Vitality Nations Cup campaign. Take a look as Kemigisa reports.
Select sides as they continue their T20 World Cup preparations. Ahead of their trip, we caught up with the interim coach Jackson Ogwal, who shed light on the purpose of this trip.
These are mostly practice matches, and what we are looking for in these matches is assessing the progress and the development of these players as we head into the World Cup period. Right now, whatever we are going to do is to look at how they are progressing in terms of their mental skills, in terms of their characteristics around how they behave around the team. We are going to India to meet different experienced coaches who will help us in aspects of bowling, batting, and we're looking at doing a lot of practice to test our fitness in India. Again, as we go to India, we play tough opposition, and we are going to test our game awareness, we're going to test our preparedness.
The team has so far played 3 games, 2 against National Cricket Club, to whom they lost 2 wickets and 7 wickets respectively, then another game against Omtex Club, to which they lost by 2 runs. In badminton, a team of 7 para-badminton players was on Friday flagged off to Cairo, where they will take part in the Egypt Para-Badminton Championship as they seek to qualify for the 2024 Paralympics.
And of course, they are top on Africa as number 1, number 2 in their classes, and we hope that they play well and of course be able to qualify for the Paralympic Games.
In the Egypt International, I'm putting up the highest performance I can to make sure I achieve the points I need, and I think that's my biggest target right now.
The Egypt Championship will take place from the 23rd to the 28th of January 2024. The Uganda Cranes defeated Kuwait 2-0 in an international friendly match played Friday night in Egypt. Team newbies Ronald Sechiganda and Alex Chitaka were on target as the Uganda Cranes registered their first win under Paul Hood. The Uganda Cranes team is fine-tuning for the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers contest that will take place on the 5th of June 2024. In netball, the She Cranes continue their Europe tour, and this evening they kick off their Vitality Nations Cup campaign against England at 8:15 East African time. The game will be played at Wembley in England, and thereafter Uganda will take on New Zealand on Saturday and Australia next weekend. Yes, Joyce Kemigisa, UBC News.
And that's all we had for you this evening. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sharon Chondishek, and stay tuned for more programming coming your way. And of course, even if the Non-Aligned Movement Summit has come to an end, tomorrow the G77 plus China Summit will commence and obviously end on Monday. But UBC TV, the national broadcaster, is here to take you through and tell you, or take you through and show you what is happening. Have a lovely night and God bless. Bye-bye.
Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Thank you very much, my dear brother, Excellency Yoweri Museveni, and also my brother, another of my dear friends, His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, and all Your Excellencies. I've been given this opportunity to speak very briefly. I think perhaps because I'm the only head of government outside of Africa, I've been advised, who attended an African university, that is to say, Makerere. So I'm, as my dear friend and brother, the President knows, we go back a very long way. We met, I believe, for the first time in Tanzania around 1972, when he was studying in Dar es Salaam. It's now 51 years, just over 51 years ago, that I first came to Uganda as a doctoral student. Quite enjoyed it then. I've come subsequently. I have a lot of friends here. Uganda is my home. I claim it as such. And Africa is a noise in our blood, an echo in our bones in the Caribbean. And the strengthening of African and Caribbean unity is at the top of the agenda of my government and, of course, the people in the Caribbean and Latin America. In the foundation of the NAM, Kwame Nkrumah said that we look neither east nor west, but we look forward. We look to the future. It is a long time, a long journey, and through the vicissitudes of life and living and production, and all the changing scenes, we have arrived at a new inflection point in the evolution of human history. We are at a point where the complexities and challenges and global turmoil, they are of such a nature that the old order can no longer hold, yet the new is yet to begin. And the NAM and the G77, the developing world, the South, we have a special role to play. We have been told by those who have dominated the world for quite a while that the central contradiction in The world today revolved on the question of democracy versus autocracy. Well, from the trenches of the Caribbean, that has never been the central contradiction, and it is not today. The central contradiction is about who gets what, when, where, and how, who owns and controls the resources, and who determines the distribution of those resources. That is how it has been, and that is how it is today. And the restless South, justifiably, are demanding a better share of what the world has to offer. The poor, the marginalized, the disadvantaged. We are in quest for sustainable development, for peace. We want to see the climate change issues resolved. We want a better environment, a better future for our children and grandchildren. It is more difficult now for those who have been wedded to imperialism and hegemony to co-opt or to contain or to control those whom they consider the restless ones in the South. But there's a time and season for everything. And what we have to do, and we know it and we heard it in all the speeches, we have to work together in solidarity with one another and not allow ourselves to be divided as hitherto. And it is this solidarity around specific objectives which will bring about the upliftment of ourselves and all humanity. Peace, security, sustainable development, a good environment, and prosperity for all, not just a handful in a few privileged countries. We have under consideration issues old and new, some continuing. Cuba is here, heroic Cuba. Cubans gave their lives in the struggle for the defense of the independence of Angola. And at the Battle of Cuito Valley, when they defeated the racist South Africans in conjunction with the forces of the MPLA, and in the process assisted in opening the cell doors of Nelson Mandela. Yet Cuba, with all its sacrifices, are still today bombarded by unilateral coercive measures. It is necessary and desirable that this NAM restates its solidarity with Cuba and call for the end to the criminal embargo of this magnificent land of our Caribbean. We have been making strides. Recently, by our own efforts in the Community of States of Latin America and the Caribbean, we have set a framework together through the Argyle Declaration in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a framework for peace between Guyana and Venezuela, and not to have open conflict. This is what we have to do in the NAM, this is what we have to do in the G77. Right before our very eyes, a terrible genocide is unfolding before us. The first genocide, the first televised genocide in human history. And yet, complicit nations in the West, in North America, in Europe, are arming and financing the forces in the Israeli government which are committing this horrendous act of barbarism. Surely, elemental humanity must demand that there be a ceasefire. And this should stop. You know, I was having a conversation with a woman who is not political. She was watching Al Jazeera and watching the slaughter of children. 10,000 in 100 days. And she said to me in an act of a cry of hopelessness, helplessness really, can't the world do something about this? And she burst in tears. Have we reached such a stage in our human condition that collectively we cannot be the conscience of the world and bring an end to this savagery against the Palestinian people? We are at an inflection point. History and contemporary circumstances have put the matter to us for a better world. I thank President Museveni for hosting this particular meeting and following with the South Summit tomorrow, the G77, for his extraordinary leadership in Africa. And I thank you for having us. I thank His Excellency, the Secretary General, for his boldness and outspokenness on the issues which concern humanity. Let us in the South join hands and hearts with progressive people across the world for a better life, a better world. Surely things can be brighter. Let's get on with it. Thank you.
I want to thank His Excellency Ralph Gonzalez for his remarks. I now invite His Excellency, the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Antonio Guterres.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, President Museveni, thank you for your warm welcome, and I congratulate Uganda on its chairmanship of the non-aligned movement. This movement began at a divided moment in history. In the midst of the Cold War, its architects, leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Joseph Broz Tito, Gamal Abdel Nasser and others worked to advance cooperation, supporting countries as they traveled the path to full decolonization, boosting trade and economic development in the Global South, and championing the pillars of peace, dialogue, diplomacy and cooperation. We see clear convergence between the principles of the UN Charter and the Bandung principles of the non-aligned movement. And you have an important role at the United Nations, as significant contributors to UN peacekeeping forces, as supporters of our work to uphold the United Nations Charter, international law and human rights, as champions of solidarity in times of crisis, including during and after the COVID-19 pandemic, and in your strong call for the elimination of nuclear weapons. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this summit falls at another moment of deep division. Geopolitical tensions are rising. Democracy is eroding while populism and extremism are increasing. Our climate is breaking down, poverty and inequalities are rife, and the developing world faces its weakest economic growth in decades. And more countries than ever are struggling with debt distress or default. Human rights, international law, the Geneva Convention and the UN Charter are being flouted with impunity. And conflicts are raging and proliferating from Sudan to Ukraine to Gaza. Following the abhorrent Hamas attacks on 7 October, the wholesale destruction of Gaza and the number of civilian casualties caused by the Israeli army in such a short period are totally unprecedented during my mandate. And this includes 152 of our own UN staff members, a heartbreaking tragedy for our organization, for their families, and for those they were serving in Gaza. While humanitarian workers are doing their best to deliver relief, they face constant bombardments, daily dangers to themselves and their families, and the enormous constraints posed by damaged roads, communication blackouts, and access denials. Meanwhile, disease and anger are deepening. People are dying not only from bombs and bullets, but from lack of food and clean water, hospitals without power and medicine, and grueling journeys to even smaller slivers of land to escape the fighting. This must stop. I will not relent in my call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. And we must do all we can to prevent spillover of this conflict across the region, in the West Bank, across the blue line between Israel and Lebanon, and in Syria, Iraq, and the Red Sea. Excellencies, the refusal to accept the two-state solution for Israelis and Palestinians, and the denial of the right to statehood for the Palestinian people are unacceptable. These would indefinitely prolong a conflict that has become a major threat to global peace and security, exacerbate polarization, and embolden extremists everywhere. The right of the Palestinian people to build their own state must be recognized by all. Excellencies, within this swirl of uncertainty and instability, I see new opportunities for countries and the non-aligned movement to lead. This meeting points the way, deepening cooperation for shared global affluence. But what does that mean in practical terms? First, global affluence depends on peace. Peace means focusing on prevention, dialogue and mediation to heal divisions and diffuse conflicts. This requires institutions that reflect today's world, not the world of 80 years ago. And the UN Security Council is a prime example. The world's preeminent platform for resolving global disputes is paralyzed by geopolitical divisions that block effective solutions. Your movement has long highlighted the Council's systemic shortcomings and the need for reforms to make it truly effective and representative. How can we accept that the African continent still lacks a single permanent member? September's Summit of the Future is a unique opportunity to consider reforms to the institutions of global governance and promote ideas to rebuild trust and strengthen multilateral cooperation. The proposal New Agenda for Peace sets out a vision for preventing conflict, sustaining peace and advancing development. It reflects our commitment to all human rights, civil, political, economic, social and cultural. It includes initiatives around disarmament, tackling terrorism and transnational crime, and managing threats posed by lethal autonomous weapons and artificial intelligence. And it calls for a new generation of peace operations, including peace enforcement and counter-terrorism operations, led by regional partners, notably the African Union, with a Security Council mandate under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter, supported by guaranteed funding, including through UN-assessed contributions. The Security Council's recent resolution on this issue is a major step forward, and one that your members, as well as myself, have long advocated. Second, peace requires sustainable development. We are moving backwards in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. People are going hungry. Communities lack access to health care, clean water, electricity, and proper sanitation. Families are struggling to make ends meet without social protection and safety nets, and children are denied education. Developing countries need resources to overcome these challenges. And this requires immediate debt relief and rechanneling unused special drawing rights. It means reforming an outdated, unjust, and unfair global financial system that favors its founders, mostly rich countries, and has proven unable to provide a global safety net, in particular to developing countries in distress. It means all countries going the extra mile to allocate their budgets wisely, investing in education, health, nutrition, and social protection systems. And it means strengthening the social cohesion of societies and upholding fundamental human rights, recognizing the rights of minorities, and standing up to all forms of discrimination. At September's SDG Summit, world leaders adopted a political declaration that demonstrated clear support for an SDG stimulus of $500 billion per year. And they also supported our long-standing call for reform of the global financial architecture, including the Bretton Woods system, to better respond to the needs of developing countries, making it fully representative of today's global economy and not the one that existed after the Second World War. And at COP28, countries operationalized the long-awaited Loss and Damage Fund to support those countries most vulnerable to the devastation wrought by climate change. But contributions so far have been minimal, and developed countries have not yet fulfilled many of their long-standing commitments on climate finance. I urge the non-aligned movement to hold leaders to keep these promises this year. Excellencies, conflicts, poverty, inequality, geopolitical fragmentation, and climate catastrophe are the result of choices the world makes or fails to make. Guided by the solutions being discussed here, and the spirit of trust, understanding, and solidarity that is infused in NAM from the start, I know we can tackle these challenges together and make the right choices in the time ahead, and I thank you.
I thank His Excellency Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, for his remarks, and I welcome here for the conference of today and tomorrow. As we close, we should remind ourselves of our motto for this conference, which was deepening cooperation for global affluence. This will be the first time, if it is achieved in the coming years, that the whole world is affluent. Until by 1980, the only affluent part of the world was Western Europe, North America, and Japan. The rest of the world were in poverty. In the last 50 years, we have 40-something years, we have seen spread of affluence to some other countries, China, some countries in other parts of the world, spreading affluence a bit more. And what we are aiming at is affluence for the whole world. We may not achieve it in a short time, but we should have it on the radar screen as our aim. In order to do that, we go back to our principles of NAM. And those principles, the Bandung principles, really start with humility, to be humble, not to think that what you think is the only way of doing things. In other language, we call that subjectivism. When you just think that what you think is the only way of doing things. The opposite of subjectivism is objective thinking. Objective thinking means you deal with situations the way they are, not the way they should be in your head. We who have I have spent about 60 years, more than 60 years, engaged in the political resistance in Africa here. And in those years, we have been studying all these events in the whole world, actually. And we have got some good idea. If you look at the 500 years from the time of the Renaissance in Europe, even if you don't go back to the earlier periods, you'll find that ideas were coming, new ideas, then people discover better ways of thinking. We started off with Bullionism. There was a thinking in Europe that Bullionism is the correct way of building wealth. That is gold, getting gold and silver, and some of the countries did that a lot, but they ended up being not developed. I don't want to mention individual countries. Therefore, after some time, it became clear that Bullionism was not the source of wealth. Then there were some thinkers in France who talked of they were called physiocrats. Physiocrats believed that wealth was only in agriculture. That if you emphasize agriculture, you will be prosperous. But after some time, a man called Adam Smith came along and wrote his book in the year 1776 entitled The Source of the Wealth of Nations. Where does the wealth of nations come from? And he was able to show that by private effort, free enterprise, by specialization and exchange, you can create wealth for the country. He was more correct than the others, Adam Smith. Then Karl Marx came and said, no, private property is the source of all evil. We should get rid of private property and collectivize wealth. He had some good points in central planning, but obviously there were also some philosophical mistakes in his position. Now, Adam Smith helped certain Europe to move forward, but something else came up which he had not foreseen. This was the issue of the market. If you produce, who buys? If you produce and nobody buys, or very few people buy, you will not continue. That's how you got to the crisis in Europe of 1929, the collapse of the capitalist system, the depression. That's how now another thinker, Maynard Keynes, came along and said, you people, you forget the issue of aggregate demand. That even if you give money, free money to people in their pockets, they buy what is produced, it will help the economy. That's how the idea of the welfare state came, where to give money to people even when they are doing nothing. Now, you can see just in that period, so many ideas coming, going, coming, going. This is the correct way. Instead of wasting, I really feel sorry for some of these people. The NAM, I'm glad we are all here. I want to assure you that we seem to be on the right way, unlike the other people who are full of themselves and think that the only way is the way they think. When we were busy in our political struggles, they would come and ask me, are you pro-East or pro-West? I look at these people. Sometimes I would want to use bad words, but I would restrain myself and say, do you think I'm an idiot? I am pro myself, I'm not pro anybody. Why would you not have it in your head that this man or this group of people are pro their own interest? Why would you think that my job is to be pro this one or the other one, and I have no other job except that? That's really incredible shallowness. Therefore, it's good that this movement has been going on. We have the capacity to solve many of these problems if we cooperate among themselves, because remember, we have been saying that wealth comes from producing goods and services and selling them. Now that means three things. Number one, investment to produce the goods or the services. A factory, a hotel, a transport business, that is either good or service produced. And we can cooperate here. Those people with some surplus capital can invest in our countries, and we produce goods and services, which means that the NAM governments must create conducive atmosphere for investments to take place. The NAM countries also sometimes make mistakes. Like here in Uganda. Uganda was moving very well in the 1960s. Then we had a man called Idi Amin. I don't know whether you heard of him. He was a soldier, a British soldier, poor, no education. He came and took over the government. We decided to fight him. But in a very short time, he expelled our Asians. There were Asian people who had come from Asia and settled here, especially India, Pakistan. This property here, this is a joint venture between the government and one of those people, one of our Indian origin people. Idi Amin expelled all this. And yet they were a very active investment group. They were in sugar, they were in hotels, they were in steel production. So here you had a leader of a NAM country undermining his own economy. So therefore, it is very crucial that we study very carefully the issue of the investment climate in our respective countries. When we kicked out all these people and we came into government, we brought back, we gave back the properties of our Asian citizens and non-citizens that Idi Amin had taken. We gave them back. We had a hot debate in Parliament. Some people saying this, some other. We said no, they must get back their properties. And they got their properties. And this one here is one of those people who came back as soon as he heard that we had given him. He came back he was in London. He came back here. And the other day I was asking our people, how many factories have been built by our Indian returnees? They told me 900 factories they had built since they came back. So this is one front line of struggle. The atmosphere for investors to produce goods and services using the raw materials we have in our respective countries. Now, once you produce a good or a service, then the next challenge is who buys what you produce. Somebody must buy it, and buy it in big quantities so that you continue expanding. That's why there is the internal market. Like Uganda here, we are a population of 46 million people, so they buy. But the internal market of Uganda is not enough. That's why we need the regional market, integration in East Africa, in Africa, so that we deal with the issue of the market regionally and nationally. But internationally, since we are members of the same group of countries with similar interests, we should promote trade among ourselves. Because when I buy from you, I'm supporting your prosperity. And when you buy from me, you are supporting my prosperity. And we shall, I don't know how the secretariat is organized of NAM and on the G77 to bring ideas of how we can promote and expand interstate trade among the NAM countries. We, the Africans, have been supporting, we, the Ugandans here, have been supporting the prosperity of others from our pockets by buying what they produce. You hear that I have been around for a long time. By 1962, when Uganda got independence, I was 18 years old, and I was already active as a youth, and I was following everything. At that time, we were buying British products because we were a British colony. We would buy British cars, Bedfords, Morris Minor, Austin. I remember those vehicles. Range Rover, only British vehicles, British-made vehicles. When we got independence, our leaders started importing vehicles from France, the Peugeots, from Germany, the Mercedes-Benz, but especially from Japan. And we have been buying a lot of vehicles from Japan. But Japan are not wise traders. I told them, say, you Japanese, we are enriching you with our pockets. We are buying your vehicles. All clans of Japanese vehicles are here. Pajero, I don't know which clan, the other clan, Mitsubishi. Why don't you come and assemble at least these vehicles in Uganda? They were not interested. Okay. I see you want to take blood from me. You don't want to give some blood to me. Now, we are making our own vehicles. I don't know whether these people can show those vehicles on this screen here. Have you got those pictures or you have failed? All those vehicles are electric vehicles being made by our people. And that's one of the factories where they are made. Now, my Japanese people came and said, no, we want to assemble vehicles here. Say, too late, sorry. I'm no longer interested in assembling. I now only want manufacturing here. If you don't want that, bye-bye. Those are now. So therefore, the NAM countries should not be part of this blindness, thinking that I should only buy from you, you buy nothing from me. You should be the one I was telling the Japanese, since we are buying your vehicles, you should be coming here to even invest, for instance, in value addition for agriculture. Okay, I buy your vehicles, but you also help me in manufacturing cereals, manufacturing process, adding value to coffee, and so on. No, they were not bothered. Not bothered. This is not a good way. So number one, production of a good or a service. Number two, buying, marketing from one another. But number three, you cannot link the producer of the good and the service to the consumer without infrastructure. You need infrastructure. You need roads, you need the railway, you need the ports, you need the airlines to link the producer and the consumer. So all these are opportunities, areas of opportunities for all our NAM countries and the group of 77, who account for 80% of the population of the world. His Excellency Antonio Guterres has talked about financing. We are going to intensify our discussions with the BRICS, with all these other groups about the affordable financing. Affordable financing. Where can we get this money from? If the Bretton Woods institutions, because we are Christians, and Christians believe in repentance and forgiveness. If the Bretton Woods institutions can confess their sins and repent, we can forgive them. And they have a chance. They have a chance. I give them some option that please, time to repent. Repent before it is too late. Otherwise, we are going to continue exploring for new ways of financing. And we can do it. We can do it. A country like Uganda lacks very little. The only thing we lack, apart from our people not knowing what to do, because they have not been woken up, the only thing we have not been having has been energy, fuel, but fortunately we found our own petroleum here, so soon we shall be pumping out our petroleum, and refining it. And that means we have got almost everything here. An educated population. The people who are making those vehicles are highly educated Ugandans. So what we really need from our African brothers, which we have been discussing with them, has been the issue of the market. The market. But financing, there are also ways of financing. You can get a group like the National Security Fund of Uganda. It has got a lot of money. But they invest it, I don't know where. So there are ways we can, all these countries have national security, social security funds, because I have seen them in a number of countries. How is this money used? But we are going to go for options of affordable financing. Now the issue of helplessness, I don't really think we are helpless. It is just because we don't get together. My testimony to the NAM conference here is what I have seen. By 1963, by 1950, almost all the African countries were under colonial control. Through the agitation and some fighting in Algeria, in Kenya, also in Vietnam, outside Africa, some of the clever imperialists started giving independence. And by 1963, when the Organization of African Unity was founded, only 36 countries had got independence. 20 were still not independent. Many of them are here. And our leaders went to Addis Ababa to say, please, give all the African countries independence. If you don't give them, we shall kick you out by force. And the colonial people thought Africans were joking. What can they do? What can the Africans do? And the Africans organized themselves. Many of them are here. The liberation movements, supported by the frontline states, Tanzania, Zambia. Initially, Tanzania was alone, then Zambia, then Botswana. Now, to cut a long story short, Frelimo started fighting in 1964, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Zimbabwe, Namibia, South Africa itself, the African National Congress. Now, the war in Mozambique started in 1964. By 1974, the Portuguese Empire collapsed. By 1980, Zimbabwe got independence. By 1990, Namibia got independence. By 1994, South Africa was liberated. So, where was the helplessness? It is just because it was just ourselves. Much of the problem is internal, within us. If we don't organize ourselves well, because here you had three players. You had the liberation movements in each country, the frontline states, which were nearby, supporting, and the socialist countries in Soviet Union and China, but also progressive groups in the Western countries. And that's how we kicked out the invaders, by force, not by negotiation, or negotiation came later. So really, I don't think we are helpless. It is just we are not organized. How can we be 6 billion people? How can they be helpless? The ones who are helpless are the other ones, the other smaller group. But because we are not organized, we look helpless. But I can assure you, if we organize ourselves, we are not helpless. Now, finally, for our brothers and sisters from outside Africa, I want to mention to you that Africa has got huge potential. It is a huge continent, 12 million square miles. You can fit India into Africa 12 times, and India would fit there. But Africa is the origin of man. All of you here are are either Africans or former Africans. That's what I tell the Europeans. They just laugh. I tell them that all of you are former Africans. But until recently, the population of Africa was small. Because all human beings started here. And it is only 100,000 years ago that some human beings started going from Africa to other parts of the world, according to the literature we have. But the out of Africa population grew more than the in Africa population. Why? Because of the diseases here. This climate, the one you see outside, is good for us, but it's also good for our enemies. The mosquitoes, the tsetse flies, the what. So the population of Africa remained small. But with modern technology, with modern means, we are now able to control the enemies of man in Africa, the mosquitoes, the tsetse flies. Therefore, for the first time in human history, the population of Africa now has overtaken the population of India and of China, respectively. We are now 1.5 billion, and we shall be 2.5 billion in the next 30 years. So now this huge population of Africa and of young people, once they are educated, they are a big production force, but also a consumer force. So therefore, I want to share this with our brothers from other parts of the global south, plus China, that Africa is now becoming more and more, has always been, but is becoming more and more area of opportunity. In the past, it was a source of raw materials, a little bit of also market, but now it has everything. The raw materials, the production force, the consuming force. So bear this in mind. There is insecurity here, insecurity there, but when we get together, we solve those problems. They only become unsolvable when we don't work together. As you can hear, even by 1970, a lot of Southern Africa was in chaos. Mozambique, Angola, and so it was in war. But now Southern Africa is totally peaceful, except for Congo. Therefore, even insecurity will be controlled. And I would want to just conclude by telling your brothers and sisters from outside Africa that please, Africa is becoming more and more an area of economic opportunity. Some years ago, I got some good investors from, I think it is Indonesia, who wanted to invest in palm oil. We were importing a lot of palm oil from Malaysia, from Indonesia. They came and invested here in the islands. That lake there has got many islands. They came and invested in the island there. Now we are producing quite a bit of our needs the palm oil which we need for making soap and all that is now being produced here. So therefore, opportunities are plenty. I'm glad you came. If you have time, you can stay around and see more of Uganda. In some ways, it is representative of some of other parts of Africa which are peaceful. So with these few words, I declare the conference closed, and I wish you a good travel back to your country. Thank you very much. Conference closed.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. When it is KB o'clock, you need more from your voice bundles. That's why MTN is offering you more minutes across all networks that don't expire. Buy the new 90-minute Freedom Bundle at 5K or the 200-minute bundle at 10K, and just with no limit. Katiteri ate, no excuses. Make the call now. Dial *100 *21 hash or use the My MTN app and enjoy your Freedom Bundle today. MTN. Together we are unstoppable. Terms and conditions apply. MTN is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Metu Bus Industries, Namamve, the manufacturers of buses for transporters, schools, tour operators, and special purpose vans and any customized vehicle. Metu Bus Industries offers a range of buses known for safety, comfort, and reliability. Depending on your needs, a bus can simply be a point A to point B people mover with just seats, or a special design that includes power outlet, Wi-Fi, television, refreshment center, and any other specification. Buy your buses from Metu and support industrialization of Uganda. Contact us on 0788 118586 or 0782 030303. Email us metuafricabus@gmail.com. Visit our website www.metubusafrica.com.
Start the new year in style with a variety of wine products from K Roma Uganda Limited. Bella Sweet Red Wine, Bella Pruko Wine, Bella Alta Wine, Bella Royal Dry Wine, Bella Passion Fruit Wine, Bella Hibiscus Juice, Bella Hibiscus Soft Drink, Bella Hibiscus Tea, among others. Available in all shops and supermarkets countrywide. K Roma Uganda Limited, the producers of Bella Wines, are located in Chirabulindo, Chira Municipality. For more information, call 0772 506 155 or 0704 161 398. Bella Wines, savor the taste.
Have you packed Marvin's Harbour Jelly and Harbour Fun? Yes, we packed. It will protect
irritations? No more rashes and irritations. Movit Herbal Jelly and Herbal Soap is rich in natural herbs for a smooth and glowing skin.
Movit, all day confidence.
Thank you. Hello, Eric. Come and see my new home.
Are you looking for the best quality paint for your dream home? Be part of the new revolution with our Global Paint Silk Vinyl that gives you beautiful, shining interior walls, as WeatherCoat gives you never fading and strongly guarded walls against bad weather conditions. Located along Namave Industrial Park, Global Paints, a reliable product.
The energy of this land comes to life in dreams and memories. It lights up in these nights and leads us to new horizons. It pushes us to go further and see bigger. The energy of this land comes from here. It comes from Africa, and it vibrates in each of us.
Empowered by Africa.
Oryx Lubricants, powered by Africa.
Eno bwenu manganywako kumiru time era nga ndozako bwenva mutuliro mu mironga nywako mu ofisi ya kwafinyera zenongerayo hydration time yeye kakwenywako the only water that can quench my thirst, yeah. Aquafina we are good, good. Aquafina hydration that is good, good. With essential and good. Aquafina is my drinking water, my love.
In the production process of Aquafina, we expertly filter every drop, providing clear and perfect tasting water to help you keep hydrated with the added benefit of minerals. Aquafina is bottled by Pepsi Cola International in Uganda and is available at only 1,000 shillings.
Well, welcome everyone to the biggest game on the continent.
And you've got to just seize those moments and enjoy them as much as you possibly can.
Across Africa, a new...
Let's welcome the national teams from Mauritania and
Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez vous lever si vous en êtes capables pour l'hymne national de la Mauritanie.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand if you are able for the national anthem of Mauritania.
De rester debout si vous en êtes capables pour l'hymne national de l'Angola.
Please remain standing if you are able for the national anthem of Angola.
Vamos nos passar da nossa história, construindo
against Algeria 5 days ago, and it's some of the players who made an impact off the bench who are rewarded with starting birds. Benito, Lloyd Augusto, Zito Luvumbo and Bruno Paz make way for Eddie, Zine, Gilberto, and goal scorer against Algeria, Mabululu, in the starting 11 today. Neblu maintains his place in goal. Eddie Afonso is one of the 4 changes as he comes back into the starting lineup, a very passionate individual. Boatu was titanic against Algeria. How will he play in that back 4 for this Angolan side today? Zine, Gilberto's got off to a great start in the Girabola show. His potential is enormous. Freddie leads by example. Jules Sundala, who is always attacking, and the man up front, Mabululu, who's got the only goal that Angola have at this tournament. Amir Abdu watches on. Moments away from the start of this Group D encounter. Mauritania against Angola. The 37-year-old Egyptian referee, Mohamed Maruf Eid Mansour, gets us underway. It is Mauritania who turn out in the all-white with green trim against an Angolan side that feature in the colours of their national flag. Red, black, with a hint of yellow. As Mauritania and Angola go in search of victory. Coming into this tie off the back of opening their results, they were rather contrasting. Angola benefiting from a penalty as they drew with Algeria, and Mauritania denied by one as they lost out heartbreakingly in added time to Burkina Faso. The Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations 2023 has dished up a host of surprises and certainly some history as well. Mauritania seek history today while Angola seek a result. Clifford Mulenga, the Zambian legend, is alongside me, a man who played in 4 Africa Cup of Nations campaigns. Mauritania beginning their 3rd with a heartbreaking loss. Angola beginning their AFCON campaign, and 9th with a draw against the former champions Algeria. What do you make of this fixture?
Look, you can see it has started a bit slow. They're both ball-playing teams, so they'll both look to keep position in this game. And the team that is going to get the better of the possession are probably going to have the better of the game in this game. But unfortunately, we also have 2 teams playing that are not so prolific in front of goals, and we can only hope that today will be the day that they become prolific in front of goals.
Just looked like a problem with the ball, and the Angolan players happy to kick it out, so Mauritania have tossed back possession to Angola, who have it now with their defenders. Quilonda Gaspar, the enormous Portuguese-based defender, very powerful individual, Mr. Estrela Amadora in Portugal, out towards Show, who's just tucked in on the far side. Lovely ball in over the top. It's a probing ball. Babacar Niasse happy to bring that under control. 2 minutes into this tie.
That's one of the attacks that Angola is going to rely on, that long ball behind the Mauritania defense. They tried to use it against Algeria, and it almost paid off for them. But because they have got these players that are very good with a deep run, that dead man running, they have that in their team. So they'll definitely look to exploit that type of a pass.
Play on Mauritania. Possession here. Ali Abid. A little turn from Lamine Ba, back to his captain, Ali Abid, who is a man who genuinely led from the front in their opening fixture. Mauritania. Ali Abid created 3 definitive goal-scoring chances for Mauritania in the opening fixture against Burkina Faso. Centre of the park. A little turn and go attempted. Delivery toward the near side. The captain, Ali Abid. Ali Abid looking to go for goal there when he might have been looking for a teammate. Certainly there were 2 that were begging for the ball to come their way, most notably Pape Ibn Ba.
A very good run from Abedi there, good ball to him again. Good first touch, but I think he should have tried and shared that ball, but that's a very good attempt, you know. Normally when you're in that position, you're encouraged to shoot. I think he did the right thing there, just that the technique he used was not the best one, but very good effort from him.
Being applauded by coach Amir Abdu, 51-year-old Marseille-born, and a man who led Comores to a remarkable debut at the tournament last time out. Side that made it out of the group stages, and Mauritania have every chance of getting out of the group stages if they can claim victory over Angola here today. But they will need to score for the first time in 7 matches. They've played 558 minutes of AFCON finals football without scoring. On the opposite bench, Angola's coach, the 47-year-old Portuguese Pedro Gonçalves.
Look, they came close to scoring against Burkina Faso, and if they can just go on with that same attitude that they had against Burkina Faso, I think they're most likely to score against Angola this afternoon.
Freddie being tugged off the ball. Koita. He'd love to see Mauritania win free kicks in and around that 18-yard area, and his technique is sublime. Angola will no doubt have done their homework and will want to keep it defensively compact and tight at the back. They don't want to be conceding free kicks in anywhere near their 18-yard area. Here's Gilberto. Started the Girabola very nicely. 4 goals in 5 matches at the start of this season. Eddie has gone on the overlap here. Slightly heavy on that touch. It gives Lamine Ba time to put the ball out of play.
A good ball there from Freddie behind Ali Abedi there. That's one ball they're going to look to exploit, because Angola are quite good at those deliveries into the box there. So Mauritania have to press a little bit higher and try and close down their men before they can make that final pass.
The referee just wants a word with a couple of players bustling around inside that 18-yard area. Freddie, the captain of Angola, prepares to deliver. Whipped in, it's a decent-looking delivery, and you get the sense that Kialonda Gaspar should have done a little better.
Good delivery from Freddie there as usual. He was magnificent in the last game, and he started very well as well. Very good ball into the box there, and Ba should have definitely done better with that header there.
Kialonda Gaspar loses his marker in Lamine Ba, but is unable to give Angola the early lead in this fixture. The 5th meeting of the sides in competitive football. Angola claimed the very first meeting 4-1, Mauritania the second 1-0, and then 2 goalless draws that followed. Neither side wants a goalless draw today. Mabalulu had Gilberto in his outside, but opts to go back to Show. Oh, that's ambitious from Gassama, and he's taken out his opponent. Gassama just being summoned by the referee, while Gelson Dala is rolling around in agony.
Oh, that definitely hurts there. You could see almost rode his ankle there. That's dangerous play from Gassama.
And the Portuguese coach in charge of Angola, a little perplexed. He was expecting perhaps some harsher action from the referee. Either way, goalless it remains. Mauritania and Angola. Set piece for the Palancas Negras. Freddie delivers. Nobody gets a touch on it, and it's comfortable for Nias. Based in France with Guingamp, the Dakar-born Mauritania international. There's Keita. Down that far side flank, picks out Gassama. Another one of the French-based players, based in Châteauroux.
A good delivery into the box there by Freddie there. Angola will have to try and attack those balls aggressively. Definitely a foul there from Shaw.
Not Shaw, who made his debut as a teenager for this side. Oh, Nias. And a spot of bother. Zine applying a little pressure. Turn and go, Bura Mohsin. Keita wanting to link up down that far side flank. Angola have possession back. Effectively on the halfway line. Show goes back to his defence. Huatu finding Gaspar. And now Eddie. Show. Gaspar. So Angola winless in their last 3 matches in all competitions against Mauritania. They haven't scored a goal in that time either. Not since their 4-1 victory in the AFCON qualifying campaign of 2019. Too strong from Kilondo Gaspar in trying to pick out Nurio Fortuna.
But that's very good defending from Mauritania. They keep their line compact and tight. They're not leaving any spaces for Angola, so they're being forced to use that long ball, which is a no man's ball there. So that's some very, very good defending from Mauritania so far.
Well, Mauritania, absolute credit to them. They were very structured against Burkina Faso. And they defended a full 90 minutes before an error in added time saw the penalty awarded to Burkina Faso that was subsequently dispatched by Bertrand Traoré.
Yeah, if you're a team that doesn't score many goals, one thing that you have to make sure to do is keep your back tight so you don't at least concede as many goals as well. So that's why you can understand why they keep such a very, very tight line.
Big charging run here by Zine. By Gelson Dala, rather. It's Keita who does the defensive duties. Trying the cutback, Gelson Dala. There were Angolan players rushing up into a danger area. 10 minutes gone, goalless it remains here at the Stade de la Paix. Freddy from the set piece. And that's too close to a goalkeeper who towers above any of his opponents.
That's too close to the tallest player in the tournament. I mean, if you're going to want to beat him, you're going to have to play balls away from him. He hasn't really been tested, though. We didn't see much of a test from Burkina Faso, so hopefully Angola can put him to test so we can see how good he really is.
They'll be wanting a few confidence-boosting touches in the early stages of this tie. Chase on here. Attempted cutback, but that's, again, catching practice for a goalkeeper as Neblu brings it under control and looks to whip the ball out towards Gilberto, who might try a flying run around the outside of Fofana, and does. Gilberto, players waiting, but again too close to the keeper. Gelson Dala and Mabululu were waiting centrally.
Good run there from Gilberto there, but unfortunately his final pass was not the ball that his teammates were looking for. I watched him play in China as well. He was very, very good energy, very good work rate, and I think he's one of the players that Angola would definitely be looking to create something for them down this line.
Man with Petro Atletico, signed from Recreativa de Libolo. Neblu. Long ball forward. Keita brought it under control. Freddy now looks to send Mabululu on his way, but leaves the ball behind him, and it allows Fofana an opportunity to touch that ball back towards Lamine Ba.
Mabululu came in pretty well against Burkina Faso, and you're hoping to see that he'll come in with the same intensity that he brought when he came on against Burkina Faso, but so far he hasn't seemed to be showing any of those signs.
Mabululu, opportunity here. Mabululu strikes one. It's low, it's powerful, but it's fairly comfortably saved. Out for the corner it goes.
Just spoke about him trying to get involved in the game, and one involvement there against a shot on target. He'll need to do a lot more of that because he's one of the senior players in this team and one of the most experienced, and they look up to him for goals, so he'll definitely have to make those runs in that box.
They're racking up the set pieces, are Angola. Can they find a result from one? Again, decent delivery from Freddy, curling away from the keeper. Zine got a touch on it. Brought under control by Boatu. Delivery back into Zine. Zine is inside the 18-yard area. Tight angle, look for the little comeback for a teammate, but it's scrambled to safety by the man who wears 13, Nur Mohamed El Abd.
Very good, strong play there from Zine. They're good 10 there, turns the defender inside out there. Unfortunately, his ball doesn't meet his man, but very, very good determined play from him.
Freddy curling in. It could have gone anywhere. It still might. Hacked away.
A good set piece there again from Freddy there, but just anticipation there from Gilberto there, because the ball fell to him, then he didn't know what to do with it. He should have just, used his left foot to try and score that goal, but he wasn't expecting it.
Hazine, based in Europe, playing in Greece.
Another good run from him there, the ball behind the defense there. Unfortunately, he didn't use the ball very well there. He should have tried and played the cross for his friend, because Mabululu was flying into the box there. It could have found him.
There's Lamine Ba, 25-year-old based in Europe as well. French-born, he and his brother both in the squad. Now playing in Croatia with Varaždin. Nias. It's a long ball that Gaspar gets on the end of. Freddie's looking to get underneath this, gets a touch. Ali Abid forward. Koita chasing. Boatu's there. Koita falls nicely for him. Can he turn and shoot? Finds a teammate. Mauritania looks threatening. And a corner it'll be.
Some good defending there from Angola, because Koita is looking for that little opportunity to try and shoot, but they know his ability and his technique, so they close him real tight there. But he fails to take a shot and has to play wide to his teammate there, who tries and does something as well. And they finally win a corner at least.
Sidi Bouda. He gets into really good position, Sidi Bouda. Has predatory instincts as well. You don't want to see too many balls fall his way in and around that 18-yard area. From the set piece. Corner. Whipped in. Neblu misses it. Still alive for Mauritania here. And that's going to be out for another corner. Second in the space of a minute.
Very good ball in there from Buna there. He reads the game very well. He's got very good technique and he knows exactly where to put the ball there. So his teammates will be looking for that delivery so they can run onto that ball there. Attack that ball with aggression there. That's the only way you're going to score from a set piece.
I thought it had come off Nur Mohamed Delabd last. And it's been called as a corner. It looks like it might have struck Boatu on the way out. So another corner. Mauritania maintain pressure. Bouda Muhsin goes back deep. There's Koita from range. He can strike them powerfully. Looking to create space. Tightens the angle though. Delivers, and that should have been the first goal from open play for Mauritania. Pap Ibn Ba, who turned 31 last week, could have given himself a late birthday present in his country. An unlikely lead.
A very, very good play there from Koita. They're good ball into the box there. Unfortunately, he just couldn't keep the ball down there, but it looks like he was a little bit distracted by his teammate as well there, but a very good play from Koita.
Yeah, I think more than Angolan defenders harassing him, it was his own teammate who got in his way.
Yeah, you could look at the ball possession there. It's not such a big difference there because both teams are still trying to weigh each other out, but I think Angola have been the better side going forward there. They just have to keep probing and pushing there, and they'll get what they're looking for.
Mauritania have come back into this tie after Angola showed an opening stage of dominance, looked to impose themselves on Mauritania early and did so. Here's Ba. Alongside him, Nur Mohamed.